This video I'm going to be showing you guys 3 common misconceptions about calisthenics. And the first misconception is that you don't build muscle with calisthenics, or you don't build as much muscle as you would with weightlifting. And that's completely false, because if you keep on overloading and you keep on doing more and more difficult exercises as you improve in calisthenics, you will build just as much muscle. And the reason why people assume this is just because they'll see like some random video of this giant bodybuilder or a mass monster, and who's only doing weightlifting, and it's like, well, they're heavier. Once you're above 200 or 220 pounds, it starts to you hit this equilibrium where it's kind of more difficult, even if it's mostly muscle or more muscle, than if you were to be at a lower body fat percentage and have a little bit less muscle, because it's so much weight that you're carrying that it becomes difficult and less effective compared to like doing weightlifting. But that's only if you're like at that weight level, which is why most people just assume that it's not effective, because you can still build an amazing physique with doing calisthenics. It's just that you'll see like someone who's on who's not natural, and they'll be like freaking only doing weightlifting. It's like, well, of course they're only doing weightlifting. They weigh a lot more than most people do. And then the second misconception is that calisthenics is only for beginners, and this isn't true, because basically, I mean, there's so many different exercises, but some of them are more difficult than others. And like I said, as you get better, you improve and can do more difficult exercises as you go. Going from just doing push-ups to holding yourself sideways and then doing a flagpole, which is really difficult. Uh, and because of that, it's kind of like a lot of people think this. It's like, I'll give you an example. It's like, let's say you're doing squats, and it's like, well, if you go to this, the squat bar, how the exercise works. Like, it's simple, right? And of course, you want to have good form. That's part of it as well. But how the exercise works, and how to do it. Whereas when you're doing calisthenics, especially some of the more difficult ones, it's like you have to get good at balancing. You have to train certain muscles a certain way, and you have to kind of get good at doing it. You can't just like, know how to do it already and just start, because it's not, and you don't put on weight either, obviously, because you're not using that. You're using it just like, it just is completely determined by how strong you are. Which brings me to my third misconception, and that is that you don't need any equipment for calisthenics. And while that's kind of true, it's also not, because a big chunk of calisthenics, you're using some equipment. You're not using a whole bunch, but you are using equipment. And I know there's like, push-ups, sit-ups, like holding yourself sideways. There's a few different things, and different types of push-ups, not just the one that I just listed, but like, archer push-ups and other things that you can do. But there's a lot of stuff that's on the bar. There's a lot of stuff that's on the ring bars, that are on the circular bars, and then there's a lot of stuff, like of course you have the flagpole, which kind of competes with that. But I feel like most people who only do calisthenics, they tend to have equipment. And if you only plan on doing calisthenics and you don't want to go to the gym, because I'm a hybrid. I do calisthenics and I go to the gym, which is why I don't have any calisthenics equipment. But for example, like if you only do calisthenics, like, well, you could get one of those door frame bars that you put on your door frame, and you like nail it into the door frame, and you could start doing pull-ups and stuff, for example. And that's kind of like the basics of it, because it's not like just obviously you need if you want to soar at calisthenics, then you're going to want to get a little bit of equipment. But obviously it's not as much as if you were to talk about gym equipment, because that's going to be a lot more stuff and a lot more expensive, obviously. But other than that, that's about it. My next video, I'm still thinking about it. Let me know any feedback in the comments, guys. If you're like, if you've got a video idea, I really do appreciate it. Other than that, that's about it. Thanks for watching.